Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Sri Krishna Parabrahmane Namaha. Starting from today, I am going to release at least 8 questions along with answers that have been given by Lord Krishna in the midst of the battleground Kurukshetra to Arjuna's questions. Bhagavad Gita is just not a religious book or a religious discourse. It is a manual for life, not only this life, but the lives that are likely to come after this life. Because Bhagavad Gita talks about Punarjanma. Because there are 84 lakh species that are there on this planet. Whenever we talk about Bhagavad Gita, there are people who say that why now I will start reading it after my retirement. I'll have plenty of time then at the time. And somebody says that, oh, I can't understand Sanskrit, I can't read Sanskrit. And somebody else says that, oh, it's a philosophical book, I don't want to get into philosophy right now. And while somebody else may have a feeling that reading Bhagavad Gita will actually cut you off from the material world, and you might become like Lord Buddha, give up everything and run away from your family burdens. But it is actually not like that. If you inculcate the reading habit of Bhagavad Gita right from childhood, because it's a manual for humans as to how they can live, it is definitely going to be of great help. When you have a machine, like for example, let us take a Boeing or an Airbus, there needs to be a manual to operate that. Even the best of the pilots will always they follow the manual. They just cannot operate it the way they want. When a plane like a Boeing or an Airbus that's created by man, if it could be so complex, just imagine the kind of complexity that this human brain is likely to have. It definitely requires a manual, and Bhagavad Gita is exactly that. A lot of times we see that when a person dies, there are people who play Bhagavad Gita at the time of the death. But actually, Bhagavad Gita is not a death song. If you have to call it a song, Bhagavad Gita, or a line, you want to call it a line or you want to call it a song, it is not a death song. It is actually a life song which has to be sung every day, understood and implemented, because the implementation part is the toughest. It may happen in this life, it will continue. If you are not able to implement it fully, it will continue over a period of time. And most of the time, we as humans, we always want to do something that fetches us some money, that gives us certain luxuries in life, Like, for example, we want to put our children in the best of the schools, give them the best of the education, give them the best university education, so that they flourish in life, they get good high paying jobs, and they make themselves luxuriously comfortable. But what is actually also important is in parallel, it's also important to understand scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, so that the goal of human life is understood. We see many of them who have enjoyed much better luxuries than all of us before us. They've all, the kings, the prime ministers, the presidents who ruled the world, they've also gone. They've also lived their life, but they've also gone. But a life lived with meaning is what is more important than a life that is just lived, just like that. However great or small a person is, there has to be a meaning in life, and Bhagavad Gita gives that meaning to life. So generally we see that, frequently asked questions, FAQs, we just keep seeing in most of the times we see FAQs for different businesses or different things where there are frequently asked questions are answered, so that they need not be asked by you. You just refer them and you get your answer. You don't have to again raise that question. In the same way here in Bhagavad Gita, there are, out of the 18 chapters, there are plenty of questions that have been raised by Arjuna, and Krishna's answers to them are something which are evergreen, which we can always follow. So on the battlefield, when Krishna says that Nakankshe Vijayam Krishna na charajyam sukanicha kimno rajyana govinda kim bhogair jivite nava, he throws away his arms, he just collapses on the chariot, and then says, he forgets his very basic purpose of being there, why he was there in the battlefield. He forgets that, and he says he doesn't want to fight. And then after so many words that Arjuna speaks, Krishna's first words are Klaibyam asmagam parda naitatva upabadyate kshudram hrudayadurbalyam tvekto uttishta parantapa. Those are the first words that Krishna speaks to Arjuna. Klaibyam asmagama parda. Where did you get this cowardice? Where did you get this fear? Why are you so sorrowful? It is not your dharma to be like this. And tvekta uttishta parantapa. Tvekta means give up this kind of cowardice. Uttishta, get up. Parantapa means Arjuna is actually such a great warrior that he can destroy any kind of enemy in front of him. Such a great warrior just collapses. And this is when Bhagavad Gita actually was born. So starting from today, I will give 5 questions and answers which are worth spending our time on, so that we understand what actually we are. So the first question is, what is this fear? What is this sorrow? And what is this cowardice? What does this? What they're actually, the answer to this is, they're actually vices. They're actually bad. Why they are bad? Because they are like the dirt of the mind. The dirt of the body can be cleansed by using water or soap or shampoo or whatever. But the dirt of the mind cannot be cleared unless the dirt of the mind, which is like the fear that we have, the sorrow that we feel, or the cowardice Cowardice that we, not having courage to face things. These are not the good things because they are the mind's dirt. And the other thing that these things do is they actually defame your character, a character that you have built over a period of time. Arjuna's character was to fight. He is a warrior. He is a kshatriya by the dharma. But he doesn't want to fight, which is actually not right. That you are not doing your job. So these three, fear, sorrow, and cowardice, are the dirt of the mind, and they defame your character. Had Arjuna not fought, his enemies would have told him he was scared and he ran away from the war field, which is actually not right. Is that the right kind of thing to get for a warrior? No. So this is what Krishna tells him, that they are like the dirt of the mind and they defame the character. The second question that we have is, who is a Pandit? We keep using the term Pandit very freely and very casually, but actually Pandit, according to Krishna, is one who does not grieve for the living or for the dead or for the objects in the world, whether they are with you or they are going away from you. A Pandit doesn't grieve for these things. So that he is a Pandit who doesn't grieve for the objects or for the people. And then the third question is, who is Jiva? We keep hearing the term Jiva Atma. Jiva and Atma. Jivi means any life, that is a Jiva or a Jivi. What is Jiva? Who is Jiva? Jiva is nothing but the Atma that is conditioned by body, by the mind, and by the senses. We are conditioned by the body, the mind, and the senses. Every living being, Jiva, is conditioned by these things. It is conditioned by body in the sense when you feel hungry, you are conditioned, you want to eat something. When you are conditioned by the senses, you smell something, you want it. You hear something, either you run away from it or you close your ears. We are all conditioned by these senses. Every Jivi or every Jiva is conditioned. The Atma that is conditioned, or the Jivi that is conditioned, the Atma that is conditioned, is the Jiva. The Atma that is conditioned is Jiva. Then the fourth question is, what is Atma? We are talking about Jiva and Atma. What is Atma? The unconditioned self is called the Atma. Atma is something which existed in the past, which is existing in the present, and which is going to exist in the future also. The body may collapse, but the Atma that is residing in that particular body is always there. It was there in the past, it is there in the present, it is going to be there in the future. That is called Atma. So Jiva is unconditioned Atma, and Atma is the unconditioned self. This is the fourth question. And when we talk about Jiva and Atma, so the question may arise, so the Jiva and Atma, is this applicable to everything that is existing, or is it applicable only to a few, like an insect or maybe humans or an elephant? Actually, this Jiva Atma, this Atma philosophy is applicable to right from the creator, Brahma, to a small insect. Even Brahma has got a certain lifetime. Brahma's Atma is also the same as the Atma that is existing in the insect. Without exception, it applies to every Atma, every Jivatma. When we say that, it applies to everyone. There are hundreds of Brahmas. We only know the Chitrmukha Brahma, but there are hundreds of Brahmas. So it applies to everyone. The Jiva and Atma concept applies to everyone. Atma is permanent, Atma is eternal, but the Jiva is not eternal. The Jiva is temporary, ephemeral. This is what it is. With these 5 questions to be thought about, I am leaving this session for today. And we'll have another set of questions, which we call it as CAX, Krishna answers Arjuna's questions. We will address these questions so that we all try to learn something from this. Hare Krishna.